I have not worked in the city for,
But you still have,
15
you're still
years.
doing your
no,
thing.
but I used to travel a lot to New
Yeah,
Jersey.
You don't, but you're still working in,
I retired in September and I went per diem
oh,
and it's not working. I have not, there hasn't been a day this week that I haven't worked. I just got off a call from the Fools 5 minutes ago because they have to get something out to the state
Yeah, right.
tomorrow that requires something from me, and they still haven't gotten it to me to finalize it, and I really didn't want to work tomorrow.
And it
haven't
does
gotten-
seem like you're, it
Per
seems
diem.
like you're more than.
It's really infuriating because I'm not the boss anymore, so I can't crack their heads together. You know,
so they're pushing you around.
well, no,
That's
they're not, but what's happening is, you know, because I was the contact with the state for all things, and it's just madness. I need to get it under control.
Oh, good luck. Control, how are you? Well, I think everything's out of control. So we should get with your program.
Sorry?
Everything's out of control.
Everything's
so
out of control.
Don't try to go against the wind.
So it's not quite serious. The one thing that I have refused to do though is attend any of the status meetings with the station.
Any of the what?
Of the staff, we have bi-weekly status meetings and I refuse to attend them.
Oh.
Because if I attend, I'd still be running the program.
Mhm.
So I'm
Yeah.
not going.
Donna, I wonder if you're wanting
Are we on?
the computer's volume is on, you may just want.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was wondering how to do that.
You just joined with that audio?
Yeah, the audio's off, but for some reason the volume is up, so it's giving feedback.
So you're on twice, is that the deal?
Twice. Yeah, you know, because that's behind me, and
Oh,
so
I see.
it's easier just to see what's going on the screen. Hello.
I'd like to wait a little bit because I'm seeing only 3 members of the committee, or 4 members of the committee so far.
It's plugged into an extension cord, and the extension cord is pulled out of the outlet, which is under the couch. You could just replace it with a different lamp. It's good. Okay. Do you have yes?
I do sign
I have to.
the top.
Michael, I'm gonna give it till about 6:05 to start. Do you know if anybody's taking minutes?
I'm not sure, but we are streaming, so.
Okay, and you're gonna keep the recording? Okay, are you keeping the transcript? Yeah, do that before
I
you.
can say that.
Yeah, it's not, it's kind of
It's
garbage.
weird, but
So,
well,
yeah, that's, I don't know. I don't see anybody from. So I think we probably should begin at this point. It's 6:03, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. The meeting of the ad hoc truck route committee. We begin with roll call. Kara Cousin, I do not see. Linda, here. Michael Comidas, I do not see. Michael, no, not on. Abdus. Morris present. Amber will not be joining us. I do not see Ronnie. Duan, I see you. Present.
Thank you.
I do not see Brian. And Donna is here. So of the members of the committee, we have Linda, Abdus, Morris, Duan, and Donna. What I wanted to begin with was the draft charter. Our meeting last time, we had to cancel because we couldn't get in. And the main problem was we couldn't do Zoom, so therefore members of the public would not have been able to listen in. We had a draft charter at that time. We did get comments on it. And what I'd asked Tracy to do was simply to move the documents from our last meeting into this meeting and then a couple of additionals. So there, if you could pull up the draft charter there are two of them. I don't know if you labeled them differently. They should be with the track changes in them.
I think it's the second one that's listed.
Yeah, it might be the second one in the list. It'll have track.
only see, oh, I see, there's two, one with the red line.
Yeah, the red line is what we need to look. So, one comment that we received, and we'll get to your comment, Linda. One comment we received in the first paragraph, was really to emphasize this, because it is our intent to think this is in terms of. Okay, we are taking kind of a two-pronged approach here. One is the overall truck route, and that coming up with an alternate route obviously is going to require the cooperation and collaboration with the other municipalities. And Donna has done some research on various, impacts and so forth that we'll talk about. But in the first paragraph, Michael had commented that we really need to frame this in terms of the county as a whole, not as a Hudson specific issue for the truck route. So we've pretty much taken language that he proposed. So now it is to improve the health, safety and quality of life outcomes for Columbia County residents. Move the truck route away from densely populated neighborhoods with housing and amenities close to the road. Identify, and we need to add in there, identify and move identify the lowest cost viable alternative route, which has fewest residential impacts for Columbia County residents, and move the truck route to that alternate route. So it's going to be identify and move. So that I thought was a very good comment. Anyone on the committee got any issues with those edits?
Sounds good.
Yeah,
I think it's good.
and Duan, you're okay? Okay, Now, the second one, Linda, you felt that we should eliminate the entire second paragraph with regard to Lower Columbia. So we did do some edits on this, and I think we do need to talk about this. So, and I looked into the septic stuff, and we have a document on septic for tonight, and it also ties into the truck weight, the weights. Also, as first priority, eliminate trucks without deliveries on Columbia Street west of 3rd, unless they have local deliveries in that area. Septic trucks can only access the treatment plant by using Columbia or state and are considered local deliveries. So when I looked at the maps and drove around, in order to get there, you have to go at some point onto front to get to it. And in order to get there, you have to take an east-west route. So there's nothing you can do about that. The issue with those trucks is that they are actually delivering locally in Hudson.
Sure.
They are also class 6, I believe you said. So they are not the largest or the heaviest trucks coming through. And Rob was able to give us the actual volume and number and so forth. So by putting that language in there, do you feel that, because we do have to address issues with regard to local.
I'm just curious, well, how did State Street get in there?
That's just because
Because my understanding, it should only be Columbia.
we can take state out. I was making a statement here that the only way to get there is on an east-west. But when we come to defining truck route, we can certainly take that out. But when we come to defining it, the one thing we do have control over is the routes that trucks take within the city. We can't unilaterally say they cannot be in the city, but we can actually say this is the route you must take. And we could certainly take states.
I'd like to see state go.
So let me pull up my version of this, hang on. Over here. So. How about by using an east-west? Just leave it at Columbia. It's not factually accurate. They could actually get their own state as well, but we're going to define Columbia as the route, right?
That would be, that's the route they should take.
That's the route they should take. Well, they weren't taking it when the Front Street was.
I know, and that was a problem for State Street.
That was a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should have State Street,
Don't mention it at all.
get State Street out of there.
And with that taken out, are you comfortable now with that second paragraph?
Yeah, well, could you read it? It's hard to.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the revised version. Also, as first priority, eliminate trucks without deliveries on Columbia Street west of 3rd, unless they have local deliveries in that area. Septic trucks can only access the treatment plant by using Columbia and are considered local deliveries.
And usually go to the treatment plant only to go to the Columbia or?
Sorry?
Just only go to the Columbia, go up or?
Well,
Used
At a
to,
meeting you're supposed to be at?
I'm sorry, who was speaking?
No, I think you got his question. He wants to know, like, the truck should use Columbus Street or Columbus Street.
They would use Columbia Street, is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
So the problem is, in order to get to the treatment plant, because Front has dead ends off to the south, and the treatment plant is an area that dead ends off to the north,
Mhm.
you have to, and Rob does not actually know, because there are 5 or 6 different companies from different areas, one from Dutchess and so forth. He doesn't know whether they're coming in on 3rd, he doesn't know whether they're coming down Green Street, where they're coming from, because they're all different companies. But when they come through Hudson, they are making a local delivery, so they have to follow an east-west route to get down to Front to get to the sewage treatment plant. So if we define, that's only for local delivery, so we're defining it as local. And they would be permitted on Columbia as local deliveries. However, we have to change the language around Lower Columbia to remove all other trucks that do not have local deliveries. In Hudson from Lower Columbia, and the sewage trucks are actually not the largest or the heaviest going up and down Columbia. So what are you proposing? We'll get to what we're going to talk about as the preferred route for truck traffic in this city in a moment, but how else would you propose that they get to the treatment plant?
Usually go to the Columbia, right now?
Yes, well, they have been using state. I don't know if they're still using state.
They only use state because front was
Because,
closed.
yeah, there was road
Brief
work.
time.
Yeah, there was road work at the corner of Columbia and Front. And the road was blocked off at Columbia, from Columbia to State. Front Street was blocked off for road work.
Mhm.
And so that's when they started going over on State.
Because they had to come and go on Second Street to get
Yes.
to the treatment plant. It was only because of the road.
Yeah.
I mean, my concern, I guess, is that we are focusing on Lower Columbia only, and people who are on all of the other routes become, all due respect for Abduce's petition, but the reality is people uptown are suffering from the same issues. That the goal was to get a truck route, to get the trucks out.
Which is the first paragraph, and
Okay,
that
Right.
is the.
But to separate, to say this particular goal, Lower Columbia. I mean, it seems to me that it doesn't
Okay,
need to be
okay.
stated, just that the goal is to get the truck route to be moved out of Hudson.
I have an idea, go ahead.
so that's not a confusion, Linda.
It's not what?
It's not a confusion. We are totally asked for the all that should be go to down out of the Hudson City. So we have a distinct problem going on that. Second ward has a issue and it is not a track road. That's why we put in a. It's not a question about second, I don't want it as a my ward, not a second one, not a state district, not a Warren state, not go through down. I don't want it that all equal same. So it's not a particularly don't mention it the only Columbia. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's not my petition say it's not a go through the second one. Check this my petition. So our goal was to remove that, but why we do that? We have a health issue, all other issue. My what people are suffering also is not a track road.
At the moment, actually, it is, and we're gonna look at
Yeah.
the 1976 document in a minute.
But the same
But
people are. I'm sorry.
Let me, I have an idea from what you're trying.
Okay, so question was a truck road, so. And it is very close and swell line. Go to the track road, then every time has a Columbia Street, not only Lower Columbia, uptown to Columbia Street has always have a problem, again, because of swell line.
The stand,
Right.
yeah.
So this is our goal was remove the lower part of the Columbia, means lower part of the second one. So it's the same, I never say particularly only Columbia.
Okay.
It's Columbia as going the mainly, that's why I said this.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't not classify it, I don't say, never say that, don't leave the, close the Columbia, go to the state district. No, I don't say that.
I have a different idea of how to frame this.
Okay, so question was, that's the question. That's not between how we go to the Columbia, specifically Columbia or state is other delivery. I
That's
don't
exactly what I
mention
said.
that either.
Yeah.
So I don't mention that, I don't wanna see that, this, all of our second one is not a good through. My petition has a second one, not a Columbia Street.
So
Okay.
how about this for an idea? The reason we want to talk about local deliveries within Hudson
Mhm.
is that that is actually something that we can control. Because there's no reason for, unless you have local delivery on some of the streets, we can say you cannot take these streets. Now, we do have to come up with an alternate truck route to do that. But what if we were to say, eliminate, well, that's the conundrum. If we cannot say we want to eliminate trucks with no local delivery because the state does not permit us to unilaterally say that trucks that do not have local delivery in Hudson cannot come through. We have to have municipalities work with us for that. I see where you're coming from.
And you have the same issue on Front Street.
Oh, yes, I know.
Very heavily populated.
Yes, I know that.
They just talk about the second ward, the first
Yeah.
ward. I just
Yes,
think
yes,
we
that's why we didn't want to go to the, like a Pond Street, would not go to the like that, not only Columbia, but it's a Pond Street to second ward, you understand that. So,
Would you both agree with me? While we cannot say no trucks can come through Hudson unless, right now we cannot, unless they have a local delivery, we're not allowed to do that. Our ultimate goal is to do that and to come up with an alternate route. What if we were to have language that specifically targeted Front, Columbia and State, because those are the communities that are suffering the most probably from non-local trucks coming down through there.
I mean, I would say Green Street suffers equally, as does Park Row or above the park. I mean, I think targeting one area diminishes the power of what our role is to seek an alternative truck route.
So can we, if we take that out of the charter, can we still pursue eliminating trucks on those east-west corridors that do not have local deliveries if they are above, like the sewage ones are definitely local. But we do have recommendations here that trucks above a certain weight limit should not be in Hudson because we can't support them. So we do have some language on that. Go ahead.
Margaret, I have a point of question of the second order, Eastern District, Columbia Street has a no local delivery, nothing, any store down the road. You can go maybe once in one Blue Moon Heights building or something, some dropping, something like that. Not any street grocery. And why are you talking about the Gain Street between the Farm Street? Gain Street already has a truck road. You cannot limit the truck road. First of all, we have to limit the truck road, then you can tell me that, okay, we have take out the Gain Street. You cannot stop that right now until the other municipality did not compromise with us, and we have to work that one.
But Lower Columbia is the truck route.
No, that lower
no.
truck road is before
No, North Columbia
1976.
is not a truck
Sorry,
road.
can we?
No, it was truck
No,
road
Lower
before
Columbia is not a truck road.
1976.
No,
Hold that thought for a moment because.
Lower Columbia is not a truck road.
Hang on a second. We got a communication from a constituent. I did. But right before the last meeting. About a sign on Columbia that points.
Both direction,
That points in both directions,
yeah.
saying that the route west, I'm trying to use, I'm kind of limited in my spatial ability here, but rather than saying upper lower, there's a sign pointing east west on Columbia and it says truck route. And so I said, I'll look into it and check back. And then I was provided, can you pull up, Michael, a document called hang on. It's in tonight's S clerk copy. You see that? So, just logically, I see no reason for trucks that are currently moving through Hudson to get from one side of Hudson to the other side of Hudson. Like they're literally through traffic. I see no reason for them to be on Columbia west of Third. There's nothing for them down there. There's no reason to go down there. So to me, it makes perfect sense to say, no, you're coming down Third and then you're heading out.
Yeah,
Right, so I think that's very logical and we can come up with that, but I want you to look at this document.
I'm sorry.
You have trucks, you got
Hang
your
on.
truck, go ahead.
It's called
Uh,
S Clerk, it's a PDF.
I don't have
That's in
anything for
1976.
tonight.
It was posted, it should have been posted in the package for tonight, but I sent it to.
Could it have a different name?
Its electronic name is S Clerk Copy, COPIE, 2210.
Not helpful. What is it?
It's in 1976.
What is the content?
It's a police department directive
Okay,
about
I have it.
Yeah, I seen that.
okay, another question,
Let's look at this for a second, because this actually, we have to fix this. Okay, and it's currently in place, and Chief Moore has confirmed that this is still currently in place. So when you look at this, it says, the following streets are designated as truck route in accordance with sub F of section whatever. Fairview Avenue south to Green, Green from City Line to Route 23B west to the intersection with Columbia, Columbia Street west to North Front Street. And that's what's currently on the books. We have-
Margaret, Margaret.
Yeah,
I gotta, because this resolution was on 1976, I mean, this paper, but that time was a truck route, but that time the truck was small and it wasn't that
yes, of course
heavy.
we were. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I think it's a really bad idea.
so also,
But I'm
also,
just saying that one of the
also
things
let
we
me
have to
know
do
that
is
Columbia
fix
Street down Third Street, down to Third to, town to, up to Pond Street, no sign has a track road over there. Track road go this way
Oh, I know,
sign?
I know, but except for that one sign that points in both directions.
Yes, so they have a sign, it started coming.
Yeah, the
this
sign
way.
is, the
No,
printed,
down in the pond is there no sign, one sign, you don't have it.
Let's step back from this for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Our ultimate goal is to change the truck route. We all agree with that. We can't unilaterally do it. What we can do is control the roads that trucks going through Hudson can travel on. That we can control. The first thing we have to do is rescind this directive and change it so that it says Columbia Street. It shouldn't say west to North Front, it should say west to Third. And then you have Third Street in here, but we need North Third Street south to City Line. This needs to be amended so that it actually matches what we all thought was the truck route. But in reality, this is what's in effect right now. And this just emerged like when that question came up about getting rid of that sign. Hang on a sec. I'm gonna go to public comment in a minute, but we're still trying to figure out what the committee thinks we can do about the charter. So if we pursue changing this so that the route, and that map I emailed you might be useful at this point, right? So that shows the route that we all think we have.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
can you, the email I sent you,
Mhm.
this is from the truck study. I think it came from page 12 of the truck study.
Yeah, I had it well, so we just don't look at it.
So Margaret, you want to take the septic trucks, you want them to turn on Third? Well, how do they get to this, to the,
They go down, where, depends on
they're
where,
gonna use Columbia,
they're local. They are definitely local.
so they're gonna keep going. How, what are you gonna do with the Harney's trucks? That go to the Harney manufacturing, are they considered
Is,
local?
is Harney, that's in that same area, isn't it?
It's in the water, you know,
It's in that
Yeah.
area.
Second
Clear.
extension by the
Um,
dog farm.
considering them local.
Yes, because the only, see, the thing
No, I
is,
understand, just.
the only way,
so I-
the only way to get there. Like, literally, that is the only way to get there, right?
Yeah,
So you wanna remove the trucks from Lower Columbia, except local delivery.
Except local deliveries, exactly. And so this map here shows Third Street coming in. And then it shows a route along, I believe that's on Columbia, and then going up around and going out up Fairview. So this is the route that we thought or think is the so-called truck route. But we have this 1976 thing that we need to fix. And reword it so that it matches this. And then we have language in the charter that allows for local deliveries. Does that make sense to everybody?
I mean, that's a charter amendment, I'm not privileged to. I mean, that is
No, I'm
not
talking
my
about our
zone.
charter for our committee.
Oh,
The
charter
second
for your-
paragraph, the
for
second
this
paragraph,
committee, sorry.
yeah, the second paragraph that talks about. This committee is gonna have to reframe
So
that 1976.
another question I have. When is the traffic study done? I don't think so. The traffic study was a lower part of Columbia. Did anything study done or not? You know better
The
than.
truck study?
Yes,
Mhm. Lower part of Columbia? No, I don't think so, right?
The truck study, well, there was a, automatic traffic recorder in Lower Columbia,
Mhm.
not on.
But
the
is
river.
you done the study, anything in the traffic study, lower part of Columbia?
Any,
Any thought between on the Foundry Street, that Columbia part, you do the lower study?
They
Mhm.
included that part, west of Third in their
Yeah.
study.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, they did, they didn't only
Yeah.
look.
they did the study.
Okay, just I wanna know, make sure.
So,
I'm getting confused, I just think that the truck, I thought to define an area and only focus on that area. Sort of takes away from the entire picture of the truck route being moved out of the city. I'm only one vote, so if everybody wants to do that, I don't know, we can talk about this all night. I don't want-
I would reframe this to be more about local delivery. I had called out the sewage things because that had been brought up as an issue. And we got data from Rob Perry and we looked at the class of trucks and so forth. In that area, north area, where the only way to get there is to take a east-west road because it's a dead end down there.
Well, you could go on Warren, you could go on Union.
Their east-west road.
Mhm.
I'm saying you just have to take an east-west road to get there. There's no way, I hear what you're saying.
No, the Union Street truck can go to the Union Street, it's too narrow. And
I just was.
only option we have is Columbia.
I
and
see
State.
trucks going past my.
They go
house.
on Union Street,
Sorry?
trucks go on
Yeah,
Union,
I see them.
We
every
do,
day.
but the road is very narrow.
they're
Yeah,
doing
it is.
local deliveries.
A local delivery.
I see trucks
I
on
got
Union all the time. Let me reframe this and see if I can come up with something that's a little better. I don't want us to waste too much time on this, but I do think that I want to work on that 1976 document because we need to get that updated. It's unfortunately when Tom DiPietro checked with Chief Moore, and it is actually still in effect. So that I was going to contact DPW and ask them to change that sign, but I wanted to dig into why the sign was the way it was, and it is that way because of this thing from 1976. So we have to fix that first. And then we can move on. And that we can do within the council. If we come up with something and propose to the council, we want to change this, and the council approves it, we can move on. So before I move off the charter, I want to stop. Any other comments from the committee? Duan, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. And you're the only person who's, so members of the public. Yeah, and identify yourself and your ward.
Bill Hughes,
Yeah,
second ward.
Yeah.
So great discussion. I'm glad you brought up that point about the charter, because the charter is city imposed. And when we still talk about truck routes, it still really is two separate truck routes, right? One is state imposed and one is apparently now, from what you're reading, city imposed.
yes,
And so the city imposed one when Supervisor Reed was talking about, meaning below Third Street, local deliveries. As someone who really just moved there probably 6 months ago, or maybe a little long, I've been there about a year actually. When I see the sewer truck come by, it's not as frequent as when you having trucks. The problem that I think Supervisor Reed was getting into is you are now having large trucks that are exiting
exactly.
from lower part of the city. And it's not actually now, it's starting to become where it is not just the stone trucks or whatever. I'm starting to see quite a few 18-wheelers exiting from the waterfront coming up Columbia Street. And so that is the issue that really the crux of what we're trying to get to. When we start talking about the state truck route and Columbia Street and Green Street having as much truck pressure, I would absolutely agree with that. But right now, for you guys as city people, you can address the lower half of the city because that's within your preview.
Yeah.
The state truck route, unfortunately, will, as you so eloquently put, will require you to get together with 2 or 3 other municipalities to solve that.
Because we have no authority to prevent, if a legal vehicle wants to go, is on one side of Hudson, needs to get to the other side of Hudson, we have no authority to prevent them. We can only tell them what streets they can go on, that's it. So, we'll work on that. Any other comments? I think you had your hand, yeah.
Just to clarify, I think there is
Name.
Jason Foster on Green Street, I think it's 84.
I think you're the third, are you third or fourth? I don't know,
No,
whatever, you're Green Street.
Fifth.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I think there is one more sign, you're heading north on Front Street to turn right on Columbia. I believe there's also a sign there that says trucker.
Okay, I'll look at that.
I had said in a note before that I think the comment about the budget or the least expensive solution. I don't see a reason why that should be in the charter. I think I've been thinking a lot about the fact that it feels like we are, it's an anti-truck, it's against truck, to solve this. I think what we need is a truck bypass. We need a truck.
Oh, that's what we're
alternative.
hoping for.
Well, but to say least expensive, I think that leans towards option 12, which I think is not nearly as truck friendly as option 6, which I think, if we got some truck advocates in this group, and I'm not saying I am, just like if we were trying to cooperate and be find a solution together with truckers, I feel like they would really prefer option 6, and then this, it feels like something like that would improve the area a great deal. And I feel like option 12 is just too, I don't see trucks being very happy with that. So I don't like the verbiage of
Even though it's modified by the Adjective Bible. It's lowest cost viable.
yeah, I just don't see why cost comes into it. This is a state issue, this is we don't know where funding might come from, we know where solutions might come from. I don't know why it needs to be worded. As a committee, you can choose, you could prefer a lower cost option, not preventing that. But,
How about most cost-effective private option? Because that cost-effective brings into play things other than the lowest cost. Because you can, to your point, if there's other benefits to it and there's funding available, we could change it to cost-effective. Does that seem reasonable?
Okay.
I'm gonna just put a note there. Okay, so, I would like to get to, some actual updates. Let me say that. Moment. Oh. So we're gonna move on now, because we have, Donna did a lot of research on truck weights, and I wanted to have some of this, it's to the point that was just made, that I think, Ron, you were saying it, that, you know, trucks were much smaller back in 1976. So if you would present what you researched on the truck weights, that would be great.
Okay, Michael, if you could call up the truck weight limits memo, September 30th, please. Okay. All right, so I did some research on truck weight limits and related topics that I thought might be helpful as we consider solutions to the city's truck problems. And I've summarized some key points. I'd like to highlight some of those tonight. And I also have some information on truck volume in the city that I gleaned from the city truck study report. I think at the last meeting, someone was asking for numbers in terms of how many trucks are coming through the city and whatnot. So on page 1, I'll just go through some of the highlighted bullets. So the state truck route has been going through Hudson since before the 1950s, and the volume of trucks has dramatically increased over the years. And the size of the trucks and the truck loads are much bigger than they were in the 1950s, basically 3 to 4 times bigger than they were back then. Currently, potentially problematic trucks on the truck route and Lower Columbia are classes 6 through 14. And the MJ study classifies trucks within those classes. 6 is the lower end and 14 is the higher end. The MJ Engineering's truck study report raw vehicle data showed that the sewage trucks that they monitored on this one-day period were all 3-axle or class 6 trucks. So, which indicates that they're on the lower size. Aggregate trucks, on the other hand, aggregate trucks are gravel trucks. Those that were in the study fell within classes 9, 10, and 14. And we'll be getting into more detail on truck classifications in a little bit. Now, federal and state laws limit the truck weights based on vehicle size. Aggregate trucks are substantially bigger, heavier than septic trucks, for example. 3 to 6 times bigger, in fact. And then studies have shown that trucks cause exponentially more damage to roads and streets than other vehicles. There was a study cited in a 2017 article that stated, quote, road damage from one 18-wheeler is equivalent to the impact of 9,600 cars. Now, an 18-wheeler is class 8. Smaller than the aggregate trucks, which are class 9, 10, or 14. Basically, Hudson City streets were not designed to handle trucks of this size. And I'd like then to go to page 2, item B at the bottom.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
So in this memorandum that Donna put together, that cover page points you to each section in her research. So you can go to whatever table that she's talking about, but you should have that in your packages. Go ahead.
So as noted by Sam Pratt in his July 14th letter to the mayor and the Common Council, the intention has always been to phase heavy trucks running phase out heavy trucks moving through the city. He wrote, the state truck route was going to be removed from Hudson in the 1950s after the creation of the highway connecting Rip Van Winkle Bridge and Bell's Pond. The growth of truck size, weight, volume has only made moving the truck route more urgent. So that is perfectly illustrated by one of the studies that I found on the internet. In the
I think, Michael, if you would scroll down so we can see that table.
Oh, page 3, sorry, right at the top. The second paragraph here, there was a study that indicated truck weights increased 3 to 4 times or more from the weight in the 1950s to today. In 1955, average truckloads weighed between 4,900 to 22,000 pounds. Compared to today, the DOT truck weight limits range between 14,000 and 80,000 pounds. I'd then like to go to page 4, section D. So I did some drill down analysis on the city truck study report, the raw data that was included in the tables at the end. And the study report analyzed a 5-day period in 2020 in October, running from a Wednesday to a Sunday. So there were 3 weekdays and 2 weekend days. During that period, the daily average number of truck trips was 1,678 in the city. Of those, 873 were traveling on roads that also had aggregate trucks, and 805 were traveling on roads that did not have aggregate trucks. Let's look at table 1A at the bottom of page 4. I'd like to call out 2 things. So the MJ Engineering placed these automatic traffic recorders throughout the city. There were 15 of them. They call them ATRs. So there were ATR 6 shown in table 1A. That is Lower Columbia Street. And there were 47 daily average trucks in that area during that 5-day study period. And the daily average of aggregate trucks was 26, or 55% of the trucks were aggregate. ATR 13 was Upper Columbia, above 3rd. There were 125 daily average trucks. Of those, 52 were aggregate, or 42%. Okay. Now, the other 9 ATR locations, as I said, were in streets that didn't have aggregate trucks, and they're shown on page 5 on table 1B at the top. So I'd like to call out a couple of the ATR locations that had the highest volume of daily average trucks. ATR 2, which is US 9 Worth Avenue, 154 daily average trucks. ATR 4 was New York Route 66, had 164 daily average trucks. And then ATR 12, which is US 9 Warren Street,
I think that's near the park area, right?
between 8th Street and Park Place, had 139 daily average trucks. So you see a huge volume of trucks running through the city. Next, I did some research on truck weight, truck classifications and weight limits. And that's shown in table 2 at the bottom of page 5. And I'd like to call out, focus on class 6, which are the size of the septic trucks, and class 9 and 10 and 14, which were the size of the aggregate trucks, just by way of comparison. So class 6, look at the last column, loaded gross weight limit. So this is the total weight of the truck plus the weight when it's loaded. And for class 6, the high end is 27,000 pounds approximately. For class 9 and 10, the high end of the truck weight limits are 80,000 pounds. Now, class 14 was unclassified. In the truck study, they stated it was unclassified, so they didn't say what it was. However, all of the 10 trucks that were in that area were all going down to the dock, to and from the dock. So presumably they're as large or larger than class 9 trucks, but we don't know for certain. for class 14. Any questions on that?
I think this kind of really lays out, the extent of the problem that we've got here.
So basically, the aggregate trucks are 4 to 6 times larger, heavier than the septic trucks. Okay.
Now, the Harney thing, this, what exactly, what kinds of,
Well, they're, picking up.
Harney, yeah, I know Harney, they got UPS and the FedEx. I don't know if they have the big truck or
They're
not.
semis that are picking up their drinks.
Sorry?
They're bottling, they
Oh,
bottle soda or tea.
So,
And there's also the sauerkraut factory down there. I mean, there's other things besides the septic.
Right.
That was my point.
so, how large are the?
I really don't know.
Okay.
No, they use FedEx truck and UPS truck.
Oh, okay.
Not to pick up their soda pop, I mean, their tea. I mean, there was one on Robinson Street today.
Oh, was that a Harney one?
I don't know, but they
That
were,
was
they
quite
were
something.
trying to get the Harneys. I believe that was,
Oh, I took the
Peter's
wrong-
beer.
It was the one, yeah.
They were trying to get the Harneys and they were trying to go down
That was
Robinson.
huge.
They were trying to get the Harneys. That's
Okay,
my point.
right, that's how big they are.
That's right.
Yeah.
I also just want to make a comment that this was 2020, so the truck traffic, I mean, it's unfortunate it was 2020, the heaviest pandemic time of the pandemic.
Right.
The other issue is that when they come up Lower Columbia across Front and Lower Columbia, they are empty. They're going full on, just to remind everybody
Yes.
how they, what
Actually, oh, okay, so
just to remind everybody that the weight, the heaviest part of the trucks are turning on Third, going across to 9G, cutting across the Hall Road, and then coming back across Front empty.
I don't think that's 100% true. I've seen trucks being loaded at the dock and coming up Columbia loaded, because you can tell they have their parts coming.
so
I don't
there
know
are
what they're doing, I don't know what the-
Well, I don't know why they would be taking gravel down there and then bringing gravel up.
I'm not sure
but
if
I
it's
don't-
Not being unloaded from the barn, or what, but I've seen trucks loaded coming up from front, 3/3.
Well, all right,
So
there may be, on occasion-
Incoming.
I don't know, I'm just saying the majority of the trucks are coming back empty from the dock.
Right.
Just to,
so
I just want to make a comment about how they go, how they come and how they go.
right. So on that point though, the unloaded trucks, the curb weight unloaded for class 9 and 10 are over 33,000 pounds. I don't know what the high end of that range is, whereas the septic
Loaded
trucks,
Six is 20.
septic truck unloaded, actually these number 8 to 15,000, it's really between
And loaded,
10 to
loaded it's 14
14,000
to 27, which is still lower than the unloaded weight.
unloaded rate.
I am,
Just saying.
yeah, just to be clear.
Yeah, no, that's
How
fine.
things go.
So I do have to update, I'm going to be updating this memo, this table. I need to tweak some numbers just based on some recent follow-up I did. So just a heads up on that. So moving along on page 6 on septic trucks. So I checked the truck study report to see if there was any analysis done on septic trucks, and there wasn't. And in the 5-day study period, there were no septic trucks called out as part of the study. But there was an origin destination analysis done by MJ for a 1-day period over 12 hours. And in that study, they noticed, or they observed, there were 70 vehicles, all different classes, including automobiles. And of those, 6 of them were septic trucks. Well, we can't really glean much information about that, but what was interesting is that the septic trucks were all 3-axle or class 6. So that was interesting, that they were smaller trucks. Now, Margaret reached out to Rob Perry, the head of the city DPW, and he graciously provided data and information on the septic trucks. So I incorporated that information in this memo. Basically, septic haulers their businesses are located in several counties. There's 2 in Greene County, there's 1 in Dutchess County, and there's 5 in Columbia County. And their travel route includes Lower Columbia below Third. Okay, they're going back and forth to the treatment plant. Now, Rob provided 2021 volume data for the septic trucks. And in that calendar year, there were 2,287, I say trips here, but they're really loads. And for each load, they have to go to and from, okay? But I'll just say trips here. On average, there were 9 trips per day on average over the year, 9 trips per day. The highest month was July, where there were 13 trips per day. And Rob indicated that it's unlikely that we would ever see more than 15 trucks per day due to regulatory capacity.
There's a limit on it.
Yeah. Now, what I then did some additional analysis where, remember, the truck study focused on a 5-day period in 2020. Well, I had a whole year of data of septic trucks for 2021. So I took a 5-day period in October 2021 for septic, and I compared it to the study truck numbers. And that's in the table on table 3 at the bottom of page 6. So the daily average trucks were 47 in Lower Columbia. Of those, 6 of them septic, or 13%, and 26 were aggregate, or 55%. So it's just showing that the volume of the aggregate trucks is, in this case, more than 3 times the volume of the septic trucks. Okay, so just FYI. And then lastly, on page 7, at our September meeting, the issue of enforcing truck weight limits and whatnot came up. And thinking about it, I really don't think there's a need for the city to acquire expensive truck scales to weigh trucks in the city. I mean, those are used on the highways, interstate highways, to weigh huge volumes of trucks that are running up and down the interstates. If the problematic trucks, let's say, are determined to be class 8, 9, or higher with not making local deliveries, simply inform the drivers, post signs, give advance notice, perhaps put up an electronic sign to say, you know, starting such and such a date, you know, trucks of certain type won't be permitted, and inform the company that's using the dock about the change. I think that penalties would be incentive enough to deter the trucks from going in those areas.
So this came up because we had gone back to, I think Chief Moore had indicated that, you know, the only place, there's no place that's wide enough to pull the trucks over to do all this weight stuff and it's expensive and so on. But really, you could just do it by house. And it's not necessary to weigh it. So that was in response to that issue. Okay, any questions for Donna?
Yeah, I have a question. If I'm a class 9 or 14 truck and I have a local delivery to make, what do I do?
If you can make the local delivery.
You have to be allowed to make it local delivery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because but I think most of what we're
So
looking
your sign would say
local deliveries. only.
local delivery only.
Class,
For it.
class above whatever local deliveries. are.
So whatever you got, 8, 9, 10, and 14, was that it?
Now, it could be,
Well, it probably would.
there
be all
could be
classes.
like 8 and above. I would just say classes 8 and above,
Unless local delivery.
unless local delivery. Yeah.
Yeah, prohibited unless local.
Any
Do you want
questions?
any questions from you? Let me see if I can see you. Let's see. I think we may have lost one. Any questions from anyone on the committee in the room? Albert, no? Okay.
Did you see Susie Knopf?
So, excuse me?
Susie Knopf, she sent some information, I think mostly gossip.
Yeah, so it's in the, I put it in the communications.
Yeah, there's something about special dimension vehicles that are 53 feet long,
Mhm.
and those are certainly coming from Hudson.
Yes, there.
And there might be a special process. I think this is great to look at classifications of trucks, and I think, that's yet another classification, a special dimension vehicle, 53
Right.
foot vehicle. You can see them written on the side of the truck
Yes, yeah, I've been looking at that.
to deal with in another way. That it seemed, the way she seemed to indicate that we could, if we could exclude them from Hudson completely.
In my conversations with DOT, they were pretty clear that if it's a legal vehicle, you can't exclude it.
But her point was that there was something special about that size. vehicle.
I'll follow up on them. Am I right or wrong?
No, I think it's very difficult to,
Sorry?
it's very difficult
Yes,
to make those
Yes.
gestures, yeah.
Okay, so,
I think she was talking about a particular route that
Yes,
could
she
be
was.
excluded. I mean,
it's kind of what we're talking about here.
right, I mean, Hudson, before it became an antique center down at the warehouse, down by the dock, down by the Basilica area, that was a manufacturing site, it made chairs.
Yeah,
There
they
was
still do.
also a button factory, there was a lot of more
Yeah.
manufacturing in the waterfront that required a lot of truck traffic that came and went. And that's part of where
That's
we.
1976.
Yeah, that's why we inherited some of these routes, which are now not as friendly as, because those don't exist. So just to frame it in, I think her point was that the chair factory route may be an ability to exclude that from the what is it, SVD, BG, I can't remember, whatever the initials are.
Yep.
But not totally.
So I had put on the agenda, I'm looking, I like to keep meetings to 1 hour.
For that. And I'd
Um,
like to, just to make a comment that we could maybe one day move off of the lower Columbia and move.
Yes,
to-
I wanted to say we've already talked about Lower Columbia, so
Okay.
but that's
So
done.
beat you to it.
Sorry, yeah, you beat me. I'd already written done.
Done, all right,
I already wrote that, so I actually beat you to it myself.
okay.
So just very briefly on follow up with MJ, neither one of us has really been able to get anything out of them. I don't know that you have much to contribute on that.
Yeah, well,
We got some data.
I've been following up weekly
Yeah.
with MJ since September. I got some information from them August 31st that was very helpful. I presented in September.
Yeah.
I've been following up weekly since then, calls and emails and nothing. I'm not getting
Yeah.
responses or anything. So I thought it was important to document what we did get from them, as well as highlights of what we learned from them, because there were some key learnings.
Right.
And then also list the open questions for them. And I have some comments and recommendations on these open issues that I'd like to get feedback from the committee on whether or not we continue to pursue these issues. I think some of them we can pursue other ways and, you know, basically shorten the list of things that we're going to ask. for
What I would
input.
like to propose, you have this document. And Donna has listed out every item, whether or not we should continue to pursue or table it. If you would take that, it's a Word document, right?
It's a PDF.
Oh,
I mean, I can provide it.
can you send a Word version to everybody? And just comment on it as to whether or not we drop it, move on. Just, you know, because I've tried myself with them, I can't get any answers, because they're just not responding. Even, and we did have money that we could do further work with, that they still don't respond. Much as you're not gonna like this, I'm gonna skip to new business for a second. I would like, and I'm looking into this, and Ronnie had indicated that he might help me out with this. I would like, as we embark on trying to get some documentation together to take the state and to take that to DOT. I don't think we need to do a formal study, get a grant and all of that. I would like to get decibel readings on weekdays. We can include state since you're concerned about state, but I would like to get decibel readings on the street in Columbia. for weekdays and then also on weekends. And then get decibel readings on the ground floor inside a house on Kenyon. We get weekdays and weekends. And if we can, you know, I want a reader that will, and I believe the city may actually have some readers, but I want a reader that will capture the data with timestamps on it. And if we can also get Theo to set up maybe a video recording with timestamps on it, so that we can actually document the extent of noise level. We cannot pursue trying to get an air quality study. That's not gonna happen. I mean, there's a lot of data out there, there's research, but there's also research about the health impact on children in particular, and the elderly with sustained high decibel exposure. And if we can at least document some of this, that, you know, why this is not suitable, these houses are right on the street.
Yes.
The roads are very narrow, the trucks coming through, or they shouldn't be in this kind of residential area. So that's something I'm gonna pursue if everybody thinks that's a good idea.
I think we would.
I think it's a fine idea, but I do think it should be in other places.
Not to Columbia, yes, I know, that's why I said, I know you care, but.
No, man,
Yeah, no, I agree,
TSL is a concrete building. It's a concrete building. And it shakes because of the trucks. So Abdus doesn't live in a concrete house. I'm just saying that
Okay.
it's
Yeah, that's fine, we'll.
Upper Columbia, Lower
I will be
Columbia,
looking.
Park Place,
For,
Green Street,
Green Street, well, Park Place isn't right,
Park Place. I think that we should. pick
yeah, we could do it.
5
in-
locations if we can,
okay,
and
I think
then,
that's
then
good.
we have, I mean, we're gonna talk about the whole truck route.
I think that's a very
we
good
should-
suggestion.
Talk about all of the sites that are the Ed Brown Zero.
Yeah, no, I think that's it.
In front.
Can you send the committee a list of the locations where you think we should go for that?
Yeah, I can do
That
that.
would be good. So we're gonna have everybody look at the document that Donna is sending out. In the communications, I included Susie's document. Linda, you had raised a question about the OHW rebuttal, so Donna can explain why that was included in the communications.
The which one?
This was our Hudson Waterfront Center communication.
Oh, right.
So, and you had a question before our last meeting as to why it was in the package.
Right. Why is it in?
You could just
Yeah,
respond.
so I actually have a prepared comment I'd like to read, and this will be short. On behalf of OHW, our Hudson Waterfront, I requested that our September 22nd rebuttal letter to Creighton Manning's June 2021 letter that they sent to MJ Engineering rebutting our previous letter where we had raised concerns about the study. So in June 2021, Creighton Manning was hired by the company who owns the dock to rebut OHW's public comments to MJ Engineering made in May 2021. Creighton Manning did not copy OHW on its letter. Creighton Manning's letter was included in the final truck study report along with our OHW's public comments, which expressed concern about potential future truck volume. I recently became aware of the letter when I was researching information on truck weights, septic trucks, and truck volumes for my work on the committee. Some may consider a letter from Creighton Manning Engineering Firm as an authoritative source of information regarding truck volume. However, the letter included several erroneous statements that need to be corrected. For example, it statements that the company's, quote, proposal in the maximum condition would add 24 trip crossings to Route 9 and 9G, end quote. That, quote, it is not a big spike in any sense of the term, end quote. And that, quote, regardless, New York State DOT has reviewed and provided approval of such conditions, end quote. All of those quotes are based on outdated 2016 truck trip data. These are direct quotes from Creighton Manning's 2015 truck study letters for the company, including its response to the New York State DOT when it estimated that the annual truck volume was 2,000 loads or 4,000 trips. These numbers are far lower than available more current 2019 data, which shows a major truck in aggregate truck volume 7,590 loads and 15,180 trips annually. This current available data would result in 92 additional trips crossings at 9 and 9G versus the 24 stated in Creighton Manning's letter. The DOT has not reviewed the more currently available increased truck volume. And there's numerous other factual errors in the letter. This prompted OHW's recent letter and a request that it be included in the final truck study report, and my recent request that they be included in the truck committee document.
That was why that was put out there. And Michael, I think Donna is gonna want to follow up with you on that, because, so wasn't, you were not CC'd on it. It went to, Michael, you might have chatted, okay, great.
I said it.
But what does that have to do with the truck route study? Everything, because we're relying on a lot of things in.
No,
the
this comment about, I mean, I thought we weren't gonna talk, we were gonna focus on the truck route and not
No,
about
the only,
the gravel.
the
trucks.
comment that you've
Yeah.
just gotten is a response to your question. Why was this communication included? Any communications that we gather around the trucks, I'm including, and you wanted to know why was this here? And so Donna was explaining why.
Okay.
That's it, that's
All
all.
right, fine.
That's it, nothing
I
else.
mean, I'll add one additional comment. and
I
that-
mean, all I can say is that it would be nice to get the gravel trucks out of the city of Hudson. And we can talk about
Yeah,
all the data in the world, but that's one discussion.
yeah,
Then there's a discussion about
the truck route.
the entire truck route.
Yes, we have to.
And I'd
do the
like to
truck route.
like,
Yes. Yeah, no, that's fine, that's okay, I'm just, let it go. Okay, so. I'm gonna look into, you're gonna get me looking.
I'm gonna
into
get your
that.
location.
I'm going to. look
How
into-
many machines do we have?
Well, I'm gonna get volunteers to do this, it might take us a few weeks. I don't have any yet, and I don't have approval to buy them.
And let us know how many you have here.
Yeah.
And how many you got it.
We have comment from the public here,
Last week, we didn't even.
identify and.
Peggy Patterson, 103 Warren Street, first ward. Yeah, first ward, last time I checked. A woman came into my shop and we were talking about noise, because I experience a lot of noise on Warren Street. And she said she had noise also, and that she has a decibel counter, it's just like a downloadable app on
On her
her phone.
I
And I
like-
didn't, because I
No, that,
thought, how would I
no,
ever
that I
measure?
know, yeah, that I know, but the problem is I actually want something that will store data with timestamps.
Yeah,
I don't want to just know, like. In this instant that I looked at something, but I'd like to have something with timestamps.
yeah, I don't know.
Don't the
I'm
police
just-
have something?
Sorry?
I think the police.
That exactly, I was talking to someone yesterday who had tried to do something.
And
like
there
this.
is a noise law in Hudson.
Yeah,
and
so I'm gonna
I
talk.
think Amtrak blows it out of everything.
Well, the toots are kind of romantic.
Bill,
Bill, he's second one.
Yep.
I believe you're Donna. Would you be able to get me a cost to do an air quality study for Second Street down? Because what I believe is for myself personally, I believe I can probably get outside funds to actually fund to get that test done if the cost was reasonable. So if you could get that number to Supervisor Riza and Mia and
get a cost for a study?
a cost to get a downtown air quality.
Yeah, so that was one of the open questions that I had to MJ Engineering about what would it take, cost and timing to do a study like that, which they haven't answered. So my recommendation is that we continue to pursue getting an answer from them on that.
Right.
It's not something that I don't have the background or expertise to be able to do.
Right,
that.
I was
But it
wondering
would
if that
come
you
like
would just
MJ Engineering.
be able to get the number, that's all. Whatever
Peggy
that costs.
Patterson again. Isn't there someone else that does this kind of work besides the MJ?
Well, Amber had followed up with Department of Health actually, because there was a study in Albany. On air quality, and she had followed up with them and they dismissed it. I'm gonna try to look some more into that study. But we'll see if we can independently get any information on an air quality study. But we have not gotten a response, but that was one of our open items. Yes,
Jason Foster, I got Linda's comment about vibration was a great one. I can't imagine
Oh,
all
yeah.
the houses along, 7
Well, we've had a constituent, come to the full common council actually. Who lives on Columbia, I think Sixth. And has damage, you know, to our house from, it's a brick house, damage from the vibrations of the trucks. So, yeah, there's, and that is actually in the truck study,
Yeah.
talks about.
The truck study report, the executive
physical impact.
summary within the first 20 pages details a lot of significant problematic issues with the trucks going into the city, whether it be health issues, infrastructure issues, et cetera. So there's a lot of good information in there. It's not, they're not quoting particular studies, but they're making comments and observations about the damage that trucks can do to people and to infrastructure and all of that. So
There's a bit of a maintenance issue I brought up before, because from McKinstry Street on Green down to State and around the corner down State Street, the most beautiful pavement, and the trucks don't shake anybody. But the condition of Columbia Street and Green Street is not the same.
So before we adjourn, I will make some amendments to the charter, but I don't want us to get so hung up on that, but we don't do the work. But I will make amendments based on what we talked about. I'll look into the decibel type hearings. What do we need to do? Oh, we did actually need an estimate of residents, and I'm sorry, Columbia Street. We did need an estimate of the number of residents on Columbia Street, and if you and Ronnie could maybe work on that or go on, that would be very helpful.
Okay.
So our next step here is we need to start pulling together information to try to
So
get the supervisors.
I have to be clear. You want a resident, how many resident or how
We need
How the
either
population-
residents or households.
households. will be-
household members,
Yeah, so.
all members?
Households, I think it was.
uh,
What we're trying to estimate here is as we look at the alternate routes. We're trying to look at the number of people impacted by what's going on. And
Can you write down who you needed so we can,
Yeah, give him a note so he could.
Oh, one second.
Okay, there was a question, do you mind if I ask this one?
Yeah,
open
yeah, go
question?
ahead.
I was following up with MJ. I wanted to know the estimated cost and timing for MJ to estimate the number of impacted households for the
Right.
existing route and for options 12 and 6.
And this is important information for the supervisors in talking to the other municipalities, because what we want to frame this as in Columbia County as a whole, this is how many households are negatively impacted right now. If we go to this other, this is why this is better for Columbia County.
you wanna make sure household, all member,
I think just
well-
households would be.
household,
Yeah,
Yeah.
household is pretty much like all member. It's not like
all
just.
member, yes, okay,
Yeah, so just number of households would be helpful.
okay.
So regarding the existing truck route, if information is needed for the entire truck route, if we think we need it for the entire truck route, or do we just need it for Columbia Street, which is the
I'm
most densely
thinking from some of the
populated?
discussion here tonight, we need it broader. Because particularly if we're gonna be going to the other municipalities, and trying to
So-
discuss it, we should probably try to get estimates of the households. On what we all thought was the truck route, forget 1976.
So another question, like a Bliss Tower. Bliss Tower impact to Columbia Street.
This tower is not technically on what we think of as the truck route.
Is it a Bliss Tower is, yes, the lower Columbia, lower Columbia, but lower Bliss Tower is Columbia Street.
Providence Hall.
Bliss
across the
Tower,
street is Bliss.
What street is this on?
Columbia.
Like what corner?
technically it's Columbia.
What corner?
And
Below.
It's below Third, isn't it?
it's below Third,
Right
yes,
below Third,
yes.
Okay, but it's on
And it's on Second.
it's on
It's
the
on the-
corner,
200 block.
so it's on the corner of, it goes from Third to Second.
Yes, and
So
the,
it should
the whole
probably
block.
it should be included then.
huh?
Plus Providence Hall is right there.
Yeah,
Providence
Providence,
Hall,
Plus the other.
Skylar Court,
And
Skylar Court.
there's,
Sky Court
right.
A
also,
lot of, plus the Front Street Court.
plus the foundation, whatever the terrace.
Sorry?
Terrace too. Hudson Terrace.
So what, I think what we need to do here
That's
And it's
huge.
come up with the list, the line, and we're gonna focus on what we all thought was the truck route, not the 1976,
So,
Okay.
front two.
right? And then we will
And then within that,
assign it,
Within
we'll
that-
assign it out to the supervisors and council members who are representing those wards to come up with counts of households.
Well, we did a study and we submitted it to the planning board, which tracked all the people that lived along the
Can you
route.
send that to us?
Yeah, I can send it.
Send it to the whole
And then we
community?
sent it to the planning board,
Okay,
and it shows, it takes in everybody that lives on the route that
that will be very useful.
Colarusso travels, not, which is pretty much.
But we can glean from it.
Right, you
Yeah,
could start
yes,
there and the
yes.
upper,
Yeah,
what would be missing would be above the park,
yes.
and that would be the only
It'll
thing
give us,
missing,
give us some information.
so I can give you that.
Yeah, send us.
and
And
then
we did it by tracking how, through, the real estate maps.
Right.
We took addresses and calculated how many,
It was multifamily.
so that was the one way we tracked it.
Okay, that was good.
That may be
So-
helpful.
If you get that to, you can send it to the whole
I'll send
committee,
it
or,
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it to the. and
or
then
you can
they-
just send it to me and I'll send it. to
They can
everybody.
post it on the thing.
Yeah, and we post it out to the public site. So, it's
7:15.
7:18 actually. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Ed Dussel.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Linda can second.
And you
it.
second, awesome.
All right, thank you. So we have to
Thank
give
you.
her the.
right, good night.
household
Have a good
bill.
night.
I cannot go everything, I give a estimate.
yeah, household, yeah.
That's a lot of huge.
Yeah.
So I was living in this place because I have one serious hearing loss. And I got,
Did you have one?
I have serious hearing loss.
Oh,
And I got hearing aids, and I am amazed by the noise the world is.
It's a whole new world.
So I take my ears off and I'm all quiet.
Right.
you have an art show coming up in a couple of weeks. I had Kevin, I said, hang the pictures. I walked in this morning, the pictures look like this. The building is.
Did you read about the laundry and hanging upside down?
No, but the trucks, yeah, so you get it.
No, everything's really. Thank you very much, Michael. And are you working? So I'm in theory, I'm not working. Good night.